Voiceover on. Google. Chapter 2. I'm finally an apprentice. Bluepaw thought. And I'm starting to regret it. It had been almost 2 hours. And all she had done was collect moss for the elders. She thought that because Larkster had apprenticed her to Cloudski, her sister, she would get fun tasks like hunting or fighting. But apparently everyone thought Cloudski would go easy on her. So while her sister Palapaw went hunting and her friend Pinnapaw went on border patrol, she got the incredibly important task of collecting dry bedding for the elders. You see, Cloudski was her older sister from a different litter. Dawnlight and Duskflower, Cloudski's littermates and Bluepaw's aunts, were the daughters of Aldertail, the first mate of Goldenflow, Bluepaw and Palapaw's mother. Goldenflow was not able to produce milk for her kids, so she had kept her warrior duties, and Cloudski, Dawnlight, and Duskflower had taken over raising their younger littermates. Insertion. And, if the young sheik had remembered correctly, her mother had had a sister too. Her name was Silvershore and she was stared at by lots of cats, mostly Toms. But, to be honest, who wouldn't? From what her mother had told her, Silvershore was a very beautiful cat with glossy silver fur and bright blue eyes that sparkled like shimmering ice. Bluepaw would have loved to meet her, but sadly that would never happen. A few seasons ago, tragedy struck the clan when a raging fire nearly destroyed their camp. And in all of the chaos, Silvershore wound up trapped under some fallen rocks and was burned alive by the flames. The loss of her sister had shaken up Goldenflow quite a bit, and both Bluepaw and Palapaw could tell that she wasn't fully or truly herself after the fire. Goldenflow still smiled of course, but Bluepaw could tell that her smile never reached her eyes. The blue-gray Molly sighed and shook her head, trying to stay focused on her current task. A scowl crossed her muzzle at the thought of the huge bundle of moss sitting at her paws. I hate this, she hissed in her mind. Why on StarClan's green earth did Cloudski give me this stupid job in the first place? Hissing softly, the young sheik had unsheathed her claws and tore off more moss from the tree she was currently sitting in front of. Cloudski, can I, please, be done collecting moss? Bluepaw meowed, not at all enjoying the task that her mentor had assigned her to do. Insertion. It was silent for a few moments before the Mist Clan deputy flicked her tail and the young sheik had eagerly picked up the moss in her jaws, no doubt ready to get her task over with as quickly as possible. It was silent. Is this enough moss, Cloudski? Bluepaw mewed in between the wet bundle in her jaws. Cause I don't think I could carry any more, even if you told me to. The blue-gray apprentice muttered the last part under her breath. Cloudski nodded and picked up her own pile of moss in her jaws and with a flick of her tail, Cloudski and Bluepaw made their way back to the Mist Clan camp. 3 bullets. Hey Bluepaw, over here. Bluepaw turned her head to see Lightpaw, one of her best friends aside from her sister of course. Bluepaw waved her tail in greeting and ducked under a clump of moss and lichen which served as the entrance to the elder's den. As the blue-gray Molly entered the den, she quickly rushed over to fetch the old moss and placed fresh moss into the bedding of the elderly cats. She heard laughing from outside the den and looked towards the now fully stocked prey pile. She saw Palapaw, her sister and Pinnapaw, her best friend, with another apprentice, Ivypaw, all sharing a rabbit and talking and laughing about the fun first day they had. Bluepaw stared enviously as Ivypaw pushed the rest of the rabbit over to Pinnapaw, who glanced back at Ivypaw with wide, affectionate green eyes. What does she see in her? Bluepaw wondered. Ivypaw was the most obnoxious cat she knew, always bragging about the imaginary crow she caught when she was only a kid, or how her father was the leader of Mist Clan and her mother was the best warrior in the entire clan. All lies, she thought, even though the part about Ivypaw's parents was true. She knew that Pinnapaw deserved better than her. Pinnapaw was caring and sweet, but also feisty and a little bit mischievous. She was an amazing cat, and not the right cat for Ivypaw. Bluepaw didn't like her. She just knew that Ivypaw would not be a caring mate for her. She gazed at them for a moment more, then turned away from them and towards the dreaded green mossy bedding. Well, I'm not going to let Ivypaw ruin our friendship, she thought, grinning. Once I'm done with this StarClan cursed moss, that is. The blue-furred apprentice was brought out of her thoughts when one of the elders meowed something to her. Is that new moss for our nests? Thank you very much, young Bluepaw. She smiled and dipped her head in respect to Mospittle before racing out of the den to receive her next task. Insert. Blue Paw scanned the clearing for her mentor's dark furred pelt, and her eyes lit up when she found her. As she raced over to her mentor, Blue Paw was grinning like a newborn kid on a new green leaf day. The young blue-furred Molly panted heavily as she reached the base of the willow tree where Cloudsky was speaking with Larkster. The black and white she-cat smiled down at her apprentice as she finished her conversation with Larkster. "Why hello Blue Paw," Cloudsky meowed in a cheerful tone of voice. "Is there something you need?" Blue Paw smiled and twitched an ear. "Is there anything else you want me to do?" the blue-furred Molly questioned her mentor. Cloudsky smiled warmly and shook her head. "No, there's nothing else. Go enjoy the rest of your day." Blue Paw nodded in thanks and raced over to join Lightpaw, Soulpaw, and her sister, Palapaw. "Hi Blue Paw," Soulpaw chirped, swallowing a bite of the plump blackbird that she had found. Blue Paw chose a vole and padded over to join her sister and friends. Palapaw smiled at Blue Paw, her yellow eyes bright as she asked Blue Paw about her day. Blue Paw sighed heavily and breathed in deeply through her nose. "So, Blue Paw, tell me, how did your first day as an apprentice turn out?" She mewed in a friendly tone. "Are you sure you want to know, Palapaw?" she asked her sister with a long drawn-out sigh and a flick of her tail. Palapaw giggled and nodded her head with a friendly smile. "Yes please," she meowed politely. Blue Paw replied with a low hiss. "Cloudsky had me collect some dry moss for the elders' bedding," she meowed, flicking her tail and rolling her frosty blue eyes. "I couldn't leave until I sliced the darn moss off the tree just the perfect way." Soulpaw giggled at her friend's over-dramatic tone. Capital I. "Hey, collecting stupid moss," the blue-gray Molly grumbled while taking a bite of the vole she had chosen for her meal. "I'm sure it wasn't that bad. Don't worry so much, Blue Paw," came the soft voice of Flintpaw. Blue Paw turned her head to see Flintpaw and Moonpaw coming out of the apprentice's den. "Well, Cap, I got to catch my first piece of prey," came the snarky voice of Ivypaw. Blue Paw huffed and blew a raspberry at the spoiled and cocky Molly. "Oh, poor little Flintpaw," Ivypaw mocked, stepping up to Flintpaw's face. "I wouldn't expect you to understand the life of a clan cat." Flintpaw's ears flattened and she stared down at her paws. "I mean, it's not your fault that you, Flowingpaw, and Ravenpaw were born as kittiputs. And it's no wonder that you didn't catch any prey. Your revolting stench probably scared off all the prey in the forest." Duskflower, Soulpaw's mentor, hissed and cuffed the snobby little apprentice over the ears. "That's not how you speak to a fellow apprentice," she bristled. "Now apologize to Flintpaw." Ivypaw snarled and scratched Duskflower's front paws. "You're not my mom," she growled in response. "I don't take orders from you, Ivypaw," Duskflower snapped angrily. "We're going to Larkster's den right now." "Young lady," the ebony-furred Molly glared harshly down at Ivypaw, but she just huffed and stuck her nose in the air. "Duskflower, wait," Blue Paw yelled, stopping her aunt in her tracks. "You should go have your wounds checked out by Meadowlight." The older she-cat nodded and twitched an ear. "Thanks for the reminder, Blue Paw," she purred, smiling and twitching her whiskers. "I'll go see her after I deal with Ivypaw." "Just you wait and see," Ivypaw hissed meanly. "I guarantee you that my father isn't going to punish me." She snarled with a scathing look directed at Flintpaw and Flowingpaw, the latter of whom had just returned from helping her mentor collect herbs for their leaf-bur stores. "What's going on?" the cinnamon tabby meowed, her tone filled with concern as she rushed over to her sister's side. "Palapaw, tell me, what did Ivypaw say to my sister to make her cry?" The normally sweet and sassy medicine cat apprentice's tone was now cold and she looked as if she was ready to kill somebody. Palapaw's eyes lowered and she avoided looking Flowingpaw in the eyes. "Oh, ellipsis. She was insulting her for being a kittiput, and she told Flintpaw that the reason she didn't catch any prey was because she is used to the pampered and soft life of a Twalug pet." Flowingpaw's eyes seemed to darken even more at Palapaw's words. "I am going to kill that stuck-up little brat," she growled, flexing her claws and narrowing her eyes. "Ray," Flowingpaw screeched. "I need your help." Ravenpaw scurried out of the apprentice's den at her sister's enraged yowl. Why yes? What do you need, Flo?" Ravenpaw stammered, her blue eyes as wide as a vole as she saw the murderous glint in Flowingpaw's eyes. Flowing Paw's face formed into a scary expression that would make even the most feared dark forest cat cower in their claws. I'm gonna murder Ivypaw for making Flint Paw cry, Flowing Paw snarled. Palipaw's fur bristled in fear and she turned to face Blue Paw with a scared expression. I just pray to StarClan that Flowing Paw won't do anything too drastic, she whispered into her sister's ear. Blue Paw could only nod numbly in response. Me too, Palipaw. Me too, the older she-cat muttered quietly. Voiceover off.